So you're exercising, you're eating better, and for whatever reason, you're either gaining weight or you're having a lot of trouble losing weight. Today, I wanted to talk about the contribution that stress can play in areas like this, especially when things are being really stubborn. And I have exactly 1 hour until I need to go pick up my son from daycare. So let's get into this while I get my life together. So there are 3 major areas that we're going to focus on in this video. One is why stress is important and how it actually impacts weight changes. Next is some signs and symptoms, what I would commonly see and what you can expect to see if stress might be impacting this change for you. And lastly, we're going to talk about what to actually do, because we're not just going to leave you hanging thinking that stress might be impacting your goals. When we are stressed, it impacts our HPA axis, which is kind of what our body uses to help save us from stressful or difficult situations, which is a really helpful tool. But at the same time, in today's day and age, we're not running from saber-toothed tigers, we're not trying to escape horrible situations necessarily. It's a lot of times things that are built up in our mind as being stressful. When this HPA axis is actually being triggered, we can expect that our cortisol levels start going up, other hormones potentially could start going down. And we know that these hormonal changes can impact things like appetite, sugar and carb craving, your body's storage mechanisms, namely fat storage and sugar mobilization, blood sugar levels, fasting insulin levels, all things that are really important for weight changes. You can also expect metabolism to slow down. Your body is starting to prioritize escaping something. It's not always going to allow other areas of our life to function optimally, which of course can heavily impact our energy levels, especially in the long run, because being in fight or flight and having those nervous system escalations can be extremely draining and tiring on both the nervous system and fuel and energy sources, especially when the stress is so high that it's even starting to impact sleep. So what might be some symptoms you're experiencing? Well, I did already talk about sugar cravings and carb craving. Other signs and symptoms of your insulin being more severely dysregulated is fatigue after eating, especially if it's a higher carb meal. It can lead to less resistance to things like emotional eating, overeating, eating while very distracted, like watching TV or scrolling on your phone. These things can even really impact sleep. So for a lot of people, they might be waking up really early AM hours, feeling really wide awake, even though they already didn't get enough sleep to begin with. Other people might even have trouble falling asleep, which means they're not getting enough hours in the night, which of course we often see leading to things like energy levels dipping for that reason, as well as sugar dysregulation. And of course, as soon as we start seeing fatigue, low energy, not enough sleep, not adequate nutrition choices, we also start seeing things like irritability, anxiety, mood swings, difficulty feeling like you're managing your emotions. We also expect that throughout the day with changes like this, that maybe your mind is really overactive and it's chronically thinking, or things that are maybe considered like a small stressor is now throwing you into this huge fight or flight loop, and you feel your nervous system escalating chronically throughout the day, which isn't always a major problem, but it can be if it's continuously happening or you're having trouble bringing it back down to baseline. So those are some great clues that your nervous system might be dysregulated and that it could be impacting your weight. Please know that this isn't the only thing. There's hormonal testing that can be done, which I'll talk about in a future video. And yes, working on your stress can be helpful, but if things still aren't turning around, things like your thyroid should be investigated, your cortisol, your blood sugar, your cholesterol panel, all these things need to be investigated to make sure that you're getting the best possible care, and so that nothing underlying is being missed that could be contributing to these changes as well. Okay, so you're experiencing some of these symptoms, so you think maybe stress is impacting your nervous system and your ability to change your weight. Here are some of the areas that you can take an assessment in your own life and see if some of these tips might be reasonable for you to integrate. So number 1 is obviously going to be being more mindful. This is the absolute number 1 best thing that you can do in your lifestyle. It's completely free. It doesn't take a ton of time if you're doing it right. And I could talk about this forever. So maybe in my next video next week, I'll focus in on these strategies. But within this area of mindfulness, there is practices like brain training, meditation, taking moments of pause, journaling that can be really life-changing for a lot of people, and they're often overlooked because people feel like they're being unproductive when they're doing these kinds of activities. So along with these areas, making sure that you're talking to yourself in a supportive way, using a growth mindset so that you believe in your ability to change how you're thinking, change how you manage your stress. These things are huge. I do have an online program called Mindset Medicine. I can link that below. So if you feel like your mindset around it and your belief in yourself and your abilities to make these changes lacking, this might be a hugely supportive tool for you. Managing stimulants and boundaries is also huge. And I don't just mean stimulants as in caffeine and sugar-based food stimulants, but also I'm talking about incoming stimulation from social media, screen time, your workload, your people around you, activities and involvement that you're in. Are you someone who struggles to take breaks? Are you someone who struggles to relax? Do you take a lot of tasks on without delegating and batching and doing things efficiently? Because this is exhausting, especially if you think about it, that your brain is always on, you know? Another big area, of course, is sleep quality and amount. So ensuring that you're aiming to get at least 8 hours at night and that you're consistent with your sleep wake times as much as possible can be helpful. And if you think sleep, yeah, sure, whatever, there's really interesting studies that have been coming out over the last few years that are showing a huge correlation of the importance of sleep and weight loss, and that people who aren't getting enough hours of sleep are unable to lose weight or they're even gaining weight. So if you think that this is something to overlook, it absolutely is not. Nutrition, of course, also plays a huge role, not only in your ability to have resilience in the face of stress, but it can highly impact your outcomes, because if you're very stressed, your body goes into this carb craving mode, carb storage mode, sugar storage mode. And this can cause not only low energy, especially after you've eaten a meal, but it can also cause you to feel like you don't have the energy to cook healthy meals and to exercise, which really creates this whole spiral of recurring issues that make it really difficult to lose weight. Speaking of not having the energy to exercise is kind of this double-edged sword. We need energy to exercise, and exercise gives us more energy. But even doing small things like walking or yoga or Pilates or gentle movement, stretches, all of these things have an important role, and they can even help be meditative, especially with something more repetitive. So not only can they not take up too much energy to get started, they get that ball rolling so that you can progress to more intense exercise as you continue. Exercise also gives us a huge endorphin and dopamine hit that can help us feel like our stress is being better managed and that we're better able to lose weight using that feedback loop. And of course, like I talked about earlier, there can be underlying medical conditions that are impacting your ability to manage your stress. So see your family doctor, your naturopathic doctor, your functional med doctor, see someone who can run you some blood work and get you assessed to make sure that there's nothing underlying causing you to not be able to lose weight and potentially to not manage your stress as effectively as you would hope. Okay, and one area I wanted to add on is supplements, because I know that I'm going to get questions about that. Yes, supplements can help take those actions towards stress management. Will supplements manage your stress for you? No. See what you can accomplish with the help of supplements, but I will say that those lifestyle practices are thousands of times better. They're way better than any supplement I could ever recommend to you, and that's why I won't be touching on supplements. If you think that stress could be a contributing factor for you and you want more practical advice on how to manage it, I've decided that next week I'm going to be posting a video about nervous system regulation tools. So come back for that. Ring the bell, hit subscribe, do whatever. These strategies are free. They are simple. They are a super low investment in time. So if you think I'm going to ask you to meditate for half an hour every day, I am not. We're talking seconds in your day. And of course, if you're interested in more immediate support, I do have that online program that I mentioned, Mindset Medicine. And I also have an online membership site at mellowellhealth.com. I'll link that below too, where I go through clinical hypnosis to help with stubborn habits. And I have healthy recipes on there that can help you feel really confident in the choices that you're making in terms of your food and eating. Okay. That's a lot of words. I think that's all from me this week. Thank you so much for being here. If you made it to the end, I know that you are ready to make some of these changes because you're committed. You're here, you're learning, and you're trying to expand what you're doing so that you can see success. And I hope that you see that success for yourself. I will be back next week with some nervous system regulation practices, and I'll share some of my favorites and some of my patients' favorites. Okay. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you back in the next one.